I'm like actually leaving the internet partly because I'm scared that these people are going to kill me.
And they would love it if I died. They would fucking love it.
No one has said that. We have all said the exact fucking opposite each and every time.
And I am not a bully. I am not a bully. And I'm personally gonna stop. And cyber stalking is a real thing. You need to be fucking locked up. And the second I get into Canada, you are fucked. Not physically, I'm saying like you are fucked. And I will make sure of that. Legally speaking. I don't give 2 fucks if you guys talk about me for the next 5 years. Do it. I'm excited because Jubilee can't anymore. I'll get her fucking arrested. So like I said, you guys are gonna fuck Jubilee over. Emily says that someone's stalking her in Philly. See, I did have 500,000 followers. Well, who's she gonna report that to? No one's stalking you, Emily. We can all say whatever the fuck we want about each other on the internet, unless we're in Canada. Like, I had that many followers, babe. You should have thought about that. There's gonna be some of them in Philly. The first Google search reveals where you live. What is your fucking problem? I'm scared Jubilee's just gonna fall over dead. I'm very scared for Jubilee. Get fucked, Jubilee. Like, seriously. Jubilee is the only one whose kid is actually like in a weird spot right now, and it's scary as fuck to me. So many people have called the Vancouver police about Jubilee, not just me. We're all gonna make reports, Jubilee. Me, Frankie, everyone. Bottom line, you're a bad mom. And your daughter and Karrie Ann's kids are getting fucking abused. They just are. You won't even answer a phone call from me because you're such a fucking coward. Like, I hope that you're worried all goddamn day that you're never gonna get rid of me, because you're not. And I'm gonna pop up at random times. I'm sure that they will never be mature enough to put it down, but eventually, I mean, I keep putting it down and picking it back up. But you know, and again, if you're dealing with people like this, do not do what I'm doing. Karrie Ann is making a huge fucking mess for what? And I will make sure that every business owner in Lansing, Michigan knows to not work with her. I'm not kidding. She's gonna have to move out of Lansing when I'm done with her. No joke. I'm gonna wreck your world. For real. I'll do whatever the fuck I want, bitch. And that includes like doing whatever the fuck I want to you too. Let her know. Always sleep with one eye open, bitch. And I went through your entire Facebook today and 1-starred a bunch of businesses that you work with, and we're gonna send in 1 million fucking emails. I didn't fucking do anything wrong. I'm not gonna get arrested, and I'm going to haunt all of you for the rest of your fucking lives. What did you think was gonna happen? And me responding to you and doing some stuff to your life is not like, that's how the world fucking works. If you don't want people looking into your personal lives, which I haven't even started with you, AMW, I'm getting ready. I have a whole fucking file on you, bitch. I can start making calls, and I will. So they can either stop, but I don't have to stop shit. But you all should stay fucking stressed. I'm only gonna get deeper into your personal lives. I'm only gonna start making more phone calls. I'm gonna do what I need to do and keep fucking bothering you guys. Because now it's fun. So, and all of you bitches have my number blocked. Why? Because you can't actually talk to me. You coward, absolute cunts. This is gonna be so fun. I control this. I always have, and you're gonna always have to wonder, what's Allie doing? What's Allie doing? Is she gonna come after me? I don't know. Yeah, always live in fear about that.
We talked to cease and desist, and today she is calling my law firm that sent the cease and desist. She's called the law firm over 100 times. And she's threatening
That's
me.
not
She's
true.
threatening
Maybe.
my
I was
lawyer.
drunk. I was going nuts
really
that day.
Scared. I'm sorry. She's threatened my small business. She's threatened to call CPS on my kids. Okay. She's been posting about me hundreds of times, and over nothing. She doesn't even know me. We interacted online. She was abusing my friends when I stood up for them. I said, hey, stop, please. And she's been harassing me ever since. It's been really scary.
Okay. Where are you at? Do you live in the area as well?
No, I live in Michigan. Okay. I've never met this person in my life. And my law firm just called me and said that she's now posting on her Instagram that she's trying to get her followers to call the law firm, to downvote the law firm, to potentially send stuff in the mail to the law firm. It's getting really Scary.
Okay. And
Oh,
what's your name?
she tried to sound like she was crying.
Carrie Ann.
Is there anything you guys would like to know for peace of mind? Or?
I would just, there's a girl named Allie. Does that ring a bell?
Yep.
Okay. So whatever is going on between the two of you, whether you want to work it out online or offline, but that is who is concerned about you today. And I think Allie called. And I think has been in the past as well.
Okay, yeah.
So I just want to make sure that you're okay and that your daughter's okay.
We're good.
Okay, so this is just some online drama that you guys are going to have to work out.
This woman is a narcissist. She cannot work things out. I know a lot of the people she's personally attacked, which is why I have a tiny channel where I've chronicled her antics on TikTok and Instagram and not on Facebook, sorry, and on YouTube. Okay. And this is her. She doesn't want it chronicled, so she can't get the content taken down because it's not illegal. And it's just like she acts like I'm breaking into her house and putting up video cameras instead of watching her publicly available content while she's saying things about me.
Welcome to Doxxed, the podcast.
So, hi everyone, this is Jane speaking, and I really did not expect for there to be further episodes of Doxxed, but unfortunately there has been an escalation and we need to talk about what happened to Jubilee. So I am here with friend of the pod, Karrie Ann, and Jubilee has given us her blessing to speak about this on her behalf, and we are going to talk about what we know and what we think about it. And I guess we should start with just the current situation is Jubilee was visited by police on May 9th. There's a recording up on her YouTube channel, which is called Jubilee Sees Lies. We can link it below. We can link whatever's relevant. And and you might know more about this, Karrie, because I know you were the one that kind of alerted me to the situation. She was taken involuntarily to a hospital in Vancouver for a psychiatric hold on May 10th, which has now extended to a 2-week psychiatric hold.
Yes, that's correct. Hi, Jane. Thanks for having me. It's a really terrible situation that we have watched unfold regarding Allison Priestley and Jubilee Briscoe. I hadn't been paying a ton of attention, like consistently, to Jubilee's recent videos on YouTube, but one did catch my eye when she played a recording of the Vancouver police coming to her front door for a wellness check. Mm-hmm. And in that recording that Jubilee has on her YouTube channel, the police officer says flat out that Allison Priestley had called many, many times on Jubilee, reporting that she was unwell. Jubilee has never threatened to hurt herself. Jubilee has never threatened to hurt anyone else. I've always experienced Jubilee as a cheerful, happy, eccentric YouTube presence and TikTok presence. I don't see any of these accusations that Allie has made of her being unwell. Every time I've seen her, she looks presentable. She's in clean clothing. Her hair is pulled back and tidy. Her background is tidy. Like, she usually has a stack of books, or she's in an office setting, and she's referenced her daughter being like in the background or being busy with school or being on a tablet or baking cookies or getting groceries. She has made some comments. It's been brought to my attention that she had made comments that she was looking for more help. But do you know how many mothers I talk to like that feel under-supported and feel like they need help? And that's not an invitation for CPS to become involved. That's just a statement on the drudgery of motherhood at times. And we also watched Allison strip Jubilee's support system, and really try to strip all of our support systems over the past year and a half. She's done this through calling people's parents, triangulating abusers, any kind of person who has been who has had a falling out with her targets, or she opened up the floor for anyone that does not like her targets to spin whatever story they would like to spin unchecked. In my case, many of the stories that were spun about me were completely false and proven false by eyewitnesses. and proven to happen in the exact opposite order of how they were being portrayed for social media, via the person talking to Allie. So any person that's come to speak against Allie's victims, I've always kind of side-eyed because of that reality and what I experienced.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we don't know Jubilee's family or her real life situation any more than anyone can know any of our situations. All we can do is really observe the optics of her channel and our own interactions with her. And I will corroborate that as far as I've ever seen, Jubilee looks clean, presentable. She talks like a caring mother who prioritizes her child. I've talked to her one-on-one and I've seen how she interacts with her child. That's really all we can know. But what we also know, you and I and several other people involved, is that Allie systematically attempts to destroy our support systems and to attack us through defamation and the abuse of government resources. This has happened to you. It's happened to me. It's happened to many people, and especially autistic mothers, which I think is a relevant theme in what's happened here. So as far as I can see from her public channel, I would agree. I don't see anything that would lead me to think that somebody would call CPS on her in good faith.
I totally agree. The reasons that one would call CPS or a mandated reporter would call CPS would be for obvious signs of physical abuse or emotional abuse or neglect in the child. And keep in mind, we do not see Jubilee's child on camera at all at any point. And also, I would like to point to the larger pattern of Allie has compared me and Jubilee both with Ruby Frank. And I don't know if you're familiar with who Ruby Frank is, but she was a social media mom influencer that was found to do some very criminal, abusive things to her children behind the scenes. And there have been many, many times that Allie has compared me and Jubilee both to this abusive criminal mother.
And also, to a lesser extent, I don't have a child, so I'm not in as much danger as the people in this situation who are mothers, but I was also compared to Colleen Ballinger because I have worked with, as a teacher, have worked with college freshmen. And so I think this was intended, the accusation shifted, as you said, to fit the target, but they are always trying to paint us as child abusers and predators, when in reality, several of us have regular background checks done for our jobs. And so this is pretty obviously on its face slander.
Oh, it's 100% slander. I mean, I know for your job, you've said that you've had to do background checks in order for me to own a business and get my proper licenses. I've had to have background checks. Brian gets regular background checks. Like, just for us to move in our professional circles, we need to have a certain level of clearance. So I'm not saying that that means that there's definitely nothing going on at home, like that people can't like have power and still be bad parents. But what I am saying is this is clearly slander intended to cause maximum amount of harm and to discredit the people who are speaking out against Allie and her emotional abuse and cyber abuse. So I feel like in order for CPS to be called, like I said, there needs to be unexplained bruises or bumps, changes in behavior in children, like injuries, anxiety, depression, withdrawal, like difficulty like forming relationships or bedwetting. Like, we have a website that might be linked. That is it okay if you link the My Social Lawyer website?
Absolutely.
That will go over like reasons to call CPS that are credible. None of the reasons to call CPS, none of the credible reasons were used. I know Allie likes to like flip things around and say like, oh, I was doing what was best for Jubilee's child, but none of us believe that because there were no reasons to call on Michelle's family. There were no reasons to call on my family. In fact, our families were attacked because we were standing oppositionally to Allison and we wouldn't give her what she wanted in the form of agreeing with her on very stupid issues, to be honest. And those were the reasons that she had said that I was like Ruby Frank and CPS should be called and my children should be taken away. Those aren't good reasons at all.
I just also want to highlight that this specifically happened on Mother's Day weekend, which is just a specific kind of cruelty in targeting Jubilee and having this all happen and go down on a Friday afternoon, knowing that it would take the weekend for kind of business to pick back up and would kind of prolong this and also separate this woman from her child on Mother's Day weekend. And again, we really cannot know what happened behind the scenes, but we've been talking about this and see a pattern that circumstantially aligns with narcissistic family dynamics. And I think that it's really helpful that you're on today, Karrie, just because I think that's something that you have experience in and can speak really directly to your experience and what that pattern can look like, and how that may or may not fit this situation.
Yes, I mean, Jubilee has spoken in the past about her dynamic with her family, with her siblings, and some rivalry that might have existed there. And I know previously, to this Allie situation that unfolded in 2023, Jubilee had her, I believe it was her father, living with her, and they had a mutual care dynamic. And he was helping her, it seemed like, with household chores. When Allie started calling Jubilee's mother, Jubilee's father, Jubilee's sister, just like she had done to me, it seemed like there had been some either betrayal or some misrepresentation, or Jubilee had felt that she wasn't being properly cared for or represented. And there was a falling out with her father. And so at that point, she had asked him to leave her home. And then there was a need for more help to replace the help that he was giving her. And that was directly because of Allison. Like, she went out of her way to triangulate and exacerbate family tensions to their highest octane so that she would get paid for views, so that she could take family drama that was none of her business and milk it for all it was worth online. And she did get paid for that. And there's something just so disingenuous and sick to me about that she was here profiting about people's problems, and that she was using them for clicks. So when Jubilee lost her father, she had begun going online and saying, hey, I'm going to use YouTube to try to build community, to try to get people to come in, and maybe we could have some kind of co-housing, or maybe we could collaborate and help each other. And she would talk about her wish for a better world, which Allie also used against her. I mean, Allie was so deeply unfair to Jubilee, and Jubilee was so kind and gracious to Allie and her supporters. I can't even articulate how kind. Jubilee offered Allie a space to come and talk, and all Allie did was verbally abuse Jubilee the entire time.
Horrific to watch.
It was open, hostile, narcissistic abuse, and Jubilee kept her cool. She was very calm. She was very sweet. She was very polite. I've seen Jubilee entertain Allison's many trolls, all of these people that came to her page to harass her, to call her names, and in bad faith, to get information to use against her, to give to Allie, and to also trip her up and cause triangulation in her dynamic on her YouTube channel, where she was trying to rebuild community after Allie obliterated it. And like, that was just so heartbreaking to see these people treat her so badly. And she responded time after time after time with kindness and understanding. And she would always correct herself if she had said something that was proven to be false, or
I also never heard her make a single kind of threat of her own life, or I never heard her say anything that made me feel like she was in danger with her life or that her child's life was in danger. But one of the most sickening things about this, and I'm sorry, I want to let you finish, but it's so sickening that when you listen to that, also that police call with Jubilee, just the way that she reacted throughout all of this was really like an autistic person. And her reaction to the police coming and CPS being called almost exactly matched what we Googled it, what Google will tell you to do if you ask it what to do if a narcissist calls CPS on you. She documented the situation. She told CPS about the false claims. She had evidence. She's been storing and recording all this evidence, not just for herself, but for other people. Because there's crimes going on and it's being recorded.
She's a whistleblower. Jubilee is a whistleblower and she's being attacked like a whistleblower. She has been the online record keeping of all of Allison's misdeeds.
Yes.
And as of recently, Katie Felton's misdeeds.
Mhm.
And both of them resent that very much and have taken this to drastic measures to try to get that to stop.
Absolutely.
Which to me shows guilt.
It's heartbreaking because she was behaving in an autistic way, and I can hear in her interactions with the police that nothing she's saying is wrong. She's simply trying to be understood. And nothing she's saying is a lie, nothing is defamation, and it's being misread. And this is a systemic chronic problem of misunderstanding autistic people and misreading them as creepy or dangerous or whatever else instead of just listening to her actual words. So that was one of the most disturbing things.
Well, and then you have Allison flat out lying on top of that. How many times has Allison painted the picture of Jubilee holding a knife? Jubilee has never been online holding a knife, but Allison has said many times, oh, I could just see her coming through my window with a knife. Oh, Jubilee's going to kill me. Oh, Jubilee's my stalker. These are extremely defamatory words that do not apply to this situation. Jubilee live streams your lives, Allie, in which you are gossiping, talking, and rumor mongering about a group of autistic people you've been targeting and harassing and bullying for a year and a half. It's not about spiritual psychosis. It's not about narcissism, as she's frequently called me a narcissist, a diagnosed narcissist, which I am a diagnosed autistic woman. I've never been diagnosed with narcissism. And I've told Allie that time and time again, yet she continues to go online and share bad information because she's hoping to slander me. She's not hoping to paint an accurate picture. She's hoping to get people to hurt me, cancel me, disregard me, and leave me. Just like she did with Jubilee. She knows that she's lying and she does not care. And in contrast, like when I've seen Jubilee give her and her trolls ample grace that they did not deserve, they've always returned it with making imposter accounts about her and what she was looking scary or unwell, like the reluctant messiah that Hags Cure, aka Caitlin Williams, Samson, and Angela Theraноlt all got together because they didn't like what Jubilee was saying. And they created this horrific impersonation YouTube account in which Jubilee was depicted as unstable, as thinking that she was God, which she does not think that about herself. I think she has the belief that we all have like a Christ awareness inside of us.
Sure.
And it's our responsibility to create a better and more beautiful world. And she's said that time and time again. There is nothing wrong with wanting that. Those are beautiful aspirations. And in fact, do you know how many times I've heard white cis men in a church saying they're channeling God?
Or on YouTube. This, I mean,
Yes.
That's really something to point out is like, there's nothing any remotely more severe about Jubilee's YouTube content than there is about so many people on YouTube who do not get CPS and police called on them, and they're welcome to say whatever they want, especially when they're some kind of neurotypical white guy. She didn't have anything that read to me as, she didn't have anything that was like stalking. She didn't post private information. She didn't do anything other than public content.
Their complaints are, which I don't even care and I don't even really want to give because their complaints are petty compared to their horrific behavior. Keep in mind, all of us have been actively stalked. I've had, in Allie's comments, people try to triangulate my exact whereabouts with my mobile business.
Mm-hmm.
I have had nails thrown in my driveway. I have been thoroughly doxxed, my full home address, my full name, my full business name. So much so that I cannot work on that business alone anymore. I've had to hire employees because she's also triangulated people who have beat me in the past and were hunting for me. And she's platformed abusers that have been through court with eyewitness accounts of their crimes against me and my property. So these are the types of people that Allison brings up to the stand, and never are they credible or good people. I have never heard from one person that Allie has had vouching for her that seemed like a sane, stable presence. Now, keep in mind, on the flip side, we have Allison Priestley posting looking a mess pretty consistently in varying states of undress, hair undone, doing drugs on her lives. Any normal person that sees Allie thinks she is completely unhinged, because that is how she portrays herself. And the people that she gets to like vouch against us are scary criminals themselves, it turns out, like Katie Felton. And some of my ex-in-laws. And she's so aggressive on top of that, of calling all these social services to weaponize. So not only did she steal Jubilee's support system and ruin it, but she then laid in wait for Jubilee to say, hey, now I need help. I need help because I'm a cancer survivor. I'm an autistic single mother. I'm disabled and I need some help. And instead of seeing to it that she got any kind of help, which we were all working behind the scenes to see like what we could do, if we could send meals, if we could like do any clerical work for her, like we were all trying to coordinate the best that we could. But then they decided to wait until Mother's Day weekend and call social services and call the police on her. And keep in mind, Jubilee was not talking about Allie at this time. Jubilee had thoroughly moved on from talking about Allie as like a topic. She was talking about some other creators. She was talking about many other concepts. She was thoroughly involved in other things. And to me, this like reeks of Allie's narcissism of like when Jubilee does move on, then Allie's like, oh, wait a minute, ma'am, you're not going to stop talking about me because it makes me look really cool to have a quote unquote stalker. And so she's going to continue to try to create a story that I have witnessed is not there. Somebody streaming your live content on YouTube when you are talking about the people involved so that they don't have to interact with you and your cyber trolls is not stalking. That's a public service for the people you've maligned. And under no, a stalking is like going up to people's homes, going up to people in their contacts, seeing where their work is, letting people know so that they can watch them in your stead. All of those things Allison has done to us.
Well, that's the thing I think is important to highlight, because to me, it's the reason to do this, whatever content, and to have this conversation in a public way is because I see this as a real abuse against someone that, and I just want her to know that we see her and we recognize, and we're witnessing that. But it's very clear that there's a difference in the behavior. Like I've never seen anything on YouTube that led me to believe that Jubilee has stalked anyone. Meanwhile, I have been stalked by this person who has now done this to her. I have been harassed. We have all been contacted privately. We have all had information that was never public dredged up and put on screen, and that simply isn't happening in both directions. And so calling the government to try to abuse their resources to punish somebody in this way is, I have to understand it as bad faith. I cannot understand that there is any even plausible deniability that this was done out of any kind of like sincere well wishes for Jubilee's child. It has, and bad faith is not something that protects you from falsely reporting child abuse or neglect. So when Jubilee's released, she has the opportunity to hire some kind of a lawyer to address these false reports. And I think that, you know, this is all fun and games for people to drum up some kind of narrative. But when you look into the actual evidence and the actual, and I've talked about, we'll put together just like a clip reel at the beginning, showing what the intention is, showing that this was really intended to punish, and that's illegal. It's a crime. So my hope is that when, you know, and there are of course other legal things happening in the meantime, but there's a difference between just saying like the court of a public opinion and saying whatever you want to say versus actually digging in and looking at what the real information is here. And the real information says that it's not the same in both directions. It is really sad to me that Jubilee tried to communicate that to police and they weren't able to hear her. And you can hear that on the recording. You can hear that they just couldn't even process what she was saying. But that's not always going to be the case. People do care about evidence and real information. And there's simply a difference in how the behaviors were. I never saw anything on her public channel that would ever lead me to believe that you should call CPS on her for the way that she treated her child. Nor did I see anything when I was speaking with her one-on-one, because I have seen her interact with her child when I was on a video call with her one-on-one at different times throughout this last year. I've never seen anything that would lead me to do that. And so I don't think there is any good faith reason to have done it. And that is a legal problem.
It is. I mean, there's only so much immunity. It's very limited for good faith child abuse reports. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, Allison and Katie Felton lied knowingly to punish Jubilee to get her to stop documenting their behavior. They both are social media quote unquote influencers, and that's how they try to work. And they did not want any of the information that was being put out there, documents of crimes and newspapers publishing larceny and other bad behaviors. This is about the time that Katie Felton became involved with this and decided that her and Allison were going to work together and try to loop in Jubilee's family and make calls against her. As far as I know, Jubilee has never had any other history with CPS until now. And I'm sorry, but it's very hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that Allie claims, I mean, this is the woman, keep in mind, that put the autism card to give to police on her social media platform. And that was going to be like her little hustle for a long time was, hey, if you're autistic, you shouldn't be dealing with the cops because they could kill you. So here's, buy my card that says, hey, I'm autistic and this is how you need to handle me. I mean, it's just, I'm flabbergasted at the hypocrisy and double-mindedness of this individual and how sick and twisted she truly is to know all of that and try to be a public ambassador for autistic people dealing with the police, and then to turn around and knowingly lie on a cancer survivor, an autistic single mother with a disability who has been nothing but decent to you. Despite what you say, Allie, all of Jubilee's content with Allie has been public. So, I mean, like, if you have a mind to actually analytically look at the situation, I encourage you to go look at it because all of their conversations have been documented. And what you will find from Allie's side is a hostile and balanced, very unstable individual talking to someone who is very grounded, anchored, and kind and trying to understand.
And I will say too, like, I do think I'm not so flabbergasted. I have kind of resigned myself a while ago to the fact that we have been dealing for more than a year with a very, very sick person. When we started this kind of journey and this conversation around this podcast, my focus and my priority, the thing that I was centering and the thing that I felt like was the message here was, and maybe that was to its detriment and maybe it didn't reach as many people for that reason. I really wanted to explore this idea of freedom of belief and the idea that people were getting attacked for just what they believed. And I didn't think that was right. And I think that I almost I almost miss the forest for the trees in a way with that, because I think what we have been dealing with from the beginning is frankly one of the most sick, disturbed, deluded individuals I've ever encountered in my life. And to the point where I'm not even, I have moments where I still get angry at the kind of injustice that goes on surrounding this situation. But I feel more resigned at this point because I just, it's the most sick individual I have ever encountered in my life, in any context, in any way. And it continues to be proven out. It continues to be proven out based on the actions. And I don't really know to expect anything different ever. I don't know that we'll ever really be released from this. Like the cop was talking to Jubilee on that video recording that she put up. And the cop is saying, well, whether you resolve this online or offline, and Jubilee's trying to express there is no resolving this. And I understand how that reads to the cop, but the reality is this will never be put down by one of the most ruminating, obsessive, and completely deluded people I have ever even heard of existing.
Well, what's so interesting is that, do you remember getting the call about Allison being naked and drunk and suicidal in the bathtub?
I do. I was very concerned, and I was very
Sam Shapiro called Sam Samara Granofsky, alarmed. Sam had called me and called all of the other people, and it said, hey, obviously we want to hold Allie accountable, but we do not want her to hurt herself or take her own life. I don't know if she's serious, or I don't know if this is for clicks, but perhaps we should call. And it was so alarming that Allison's own friends had called on her. She looked so unwell that Pixie Frogs, or Hannah, who was her favorite sidekick at the time, who was constantly petitioning on Allie's behalf, called the police for a well check. She had like 3 people on her side call a well check on her. So clearly it wasn't a targeted attack because her own friends were calling.
Well, I mean, what that proves is that there was a reasonable, good faith reason to call.
Right.
And I
But
don't
then
really
Allie,
care who believes me. What I felt in that moment was, oh my God, I would be ethically remiss to not be concerned if she really is going to do that. And, you know, it was a very different situation
but
from what
Allison went
happened here.
online and took that and twisted the knife and said, oh, look at these people were calling on me in bad faith. And that was very, very obviously not the case. Did I want her off of TikTok? And did I want her to stop targeting and abusing autistic people and autistic mothers? Yes. And that's the larger conversation here. It's not even about spirituality. It is about Allison Priestley and her friends abusing autistic person after autistic person to the point of near death or severe trauma. All of the things that she claimed we did to her, but I have never called her phone. I have never texted her relentlessly. I have never caused her to lose a job. I have never caused her to lose a friend. I have never caused her to lose a parent. I have never gotten her kicked out of her home. I got her removed off of TikTok, but her complaint was that we all were trying to get her institutionalized on purpose. And then her proof was a voice note that she had stolen through her many, many spies and moles, which that's a whole nother dimension of this sick and twisted thing that I've watched play out between her moles and Jubilee, people pretending to be Jubilee's friend, people pretending to be concerned for Jubilee, truly just wanting the worst for her, but wasting her finite emotional time and resources. That she says, you know, I only have so many spoons, and these people gleefully played with her and toyed with her. And that's another sick and twisted element of Allie Starts a Cult. They are foul with the way they try to get into your circle so they can cause a maximum isolation and pain, and it is targeted that way. But Allison portrayed it like we were calling in bad faith, but just like all of her other projections, none of Jubilee's friends called on Jubilee because none of us saw what they saw. And then Allie took that to say, oh, they're just such bad friends. Shame on you. We have done nothing but support and love Jubilee. We see what she wants to do to create a better world. We are also autistic, and I listen to her through autistic ears, and I'm not alarmed at anything that she says because I've heard so many white men say the things that she says, and nobody has a problem. Nobody has a problem with the pastor passing the plate saying, oh, I'm channeling God and God's so thankful for your donations. Julie's just sitting in her home hoping to make some friends and make the world a more beautiful place. And the way that Allie has bastardized that message and turned her into such a version of herself that she is not, just so that Allie can be perceived of as right, shows her pathology and shows her deep, deep cluster B personality disorder, because that is not who Jubilee is. And I kind of wish Jubilee had been meaner to these people, because it's the icing on the cake for me of like how kind consistently she has been to all of them. And they all sit there and now stand with the abusive Allison, saying that now Allison has done the right thing. And Allison is now the hero for weaponizing a system against an autistic mother that was not threatening suicide, that was not threatening to harm anybody. You know how many times I've heard Allison threaten to get in a car and hurt me? So many times. You know how many times I've heard Allison say she was going to come to Philadelphia or come to Montreal and bust our tires? Violent threat, violent threat, violent threat. So many times. I have never heard the same from Jubilee. They're not even comparable. People made good faith calls on Allison because she was naked in a bathtub and drunk and saying she was going to kill herself. They called on Jubilee because she is putting information out there that they want buried. That's it. You know, that's it.
Do. I also want to add that Jubilee is not the only, excuse me, Jubilee is not the only autistic mother that has been put into an institution, has had to check into a psychiatric institution as a direct result of this cyberbullying. She is not the first person that this has happened to. And I don't want to, for the sake of the privacy of this other person that I'm referring to, I don't want to go too deeply into that, but that other person who this also happened to, or not the exact same scenario, but was separated from her children as well, and had to undergo psychiatric help because of this systematic psychological abuse, and was also one of the kindest people in the entire world in the face of all of this, never did anything that would ever lead anyone to suggest that she was anything but a wonderful mother.
Yes, she gently advocated for the mental health of Allie's targets and tried to help her see a more holistic reality and what her torment was doing to people.
Mm-hmm.
And that was met.
She was targeted with terror. She was
serious
into
bullying.
a hospital.
Yes, making her feel unsafe in her home now because she was crazy as it was, because these people would call her all hours of the night. They would threaten her. They would threaten her children. They would constantly wake her up, bombard her, flood her with horrible, abusive comments. These are abusers, people. And I don't care what Allison says about me, but like it is very, very frustrating to see her attacking other autistic mothers. I have encountered people like Allison, not to the degree. Like she is the sickest, like you said, most ruminating person, obsessive person I have ever met. But I've encountered people who want to abuse and triangulate. Some of those people are in my own family. Some of those people Allie has spoken to. And the sad thing is, when I released my family about 10 years ago, and I put some serious boundaries in place and I separated from them, I was down a support system for quite some time. And if Allie would have called them at that point in time, they would have been able to push me to the brink so much quicker. Because when you are vulnerable and you don't have stable people in your life to help you see your positive traits and help you anchor yourself in the truth of who you are, it is so easy to let people on the internet run away with your self-concept, run away with your will to live, run away with your the things that you're proud of, and replace them with nothing but shame and projection. And that has been Allie's MO this entire time. You can look at her wall and see all of the people she has dragged through the mud. She's not saving the world. She is targeting abuse and she's rebranding it. And now she's escalating the abuse. And I ask you, do you want to live in a world where this is how influencers behave? Where drug using, drug-addled, mentally ill criminal people can call your caseworker and have conversations and pretend to be sane for 30 minutes and have 3 other people pretend to be sane for 30 minutes and completely obliterate your motivations, your goals, and your dreams and your personality online and turn it into something so toxic and twisted and sick? I don't. Like, that's just so alarming to me. And I hope that they're prosecuted for the false reports that they filed, because they were false reports. Now, I don't doubt that Jubilee wasn't struggling. She had said that over and over. She needed in-person help. And that's what Allie is using to say, oh, I got her help. No, I've spoken to Jubilee. She is in good spirits, but she is furious with Allie.
Yeah.
And leading up to this police visit, Jubilee had been documenting that Allie was threatening to call her caseworker, that Allie and Katie Felton were both talking about her caseworker and how they were going to retaliate by calling her caseworker. So this was clearly retaliation, and her caseworker should be deeply ashamed of himself to listen to such unscrupulous people. And if there was other things, like I said, happening in the home, if the home needed cleaning or whatever, I don't know, then okay, like, let's get her some cleaning services. Let's help, because she's a single mother. She deserves help.
And
do you know how hard it is to be a mother and to keep a job or to keep your kid with their school activities and the groceries and the cleaning and have a disability and have a mental illness or have she has aphasia and autism or anything? That is a very difficult thing. But CPS is not the answer to that. Saying that Jubilee is like Ruby Frank and could hurt her child is not the answer to that, Allison. And shame, shame, shame on you, truly. Shame on you, Caitlin Williams. Shame on you, Katie Felton, for daring to treat a human being this badly and then trying to Darbo Uno reverse it and blame it on me and blame it on Carr. Carr and I have only supported and loved Jubilee. And that is not wrong. And that is absolutely none of your business if we want to do that, if we want to encourage her and see the best in her. What's the alternative? Abandoning her so that you guys can bully her into the earth? No, you will not be allowed to bully her unchecked. You will not be allowed to bully her and have everybody avert their eyes. We are all eyes are on you. All eyes are on you. And more eyes will be on you, because this is truly borderline conspiratorial.
Well, it does. I just think we have to wait and find out more information as this kind of unfolds. I do want to be careful about kind of allegedlying everything for now, but it also strikes me as a massive red flag, whatever is going on with the caseworker situation, because as far as we're hearing from Jubilee, and from the police who said that there's been these repeated calls and that the caseworker is somehow in contact with these people. It's very, very disturbing. And I think that is really a big part of the reason why I don't know what else to do myself except for to say something about this, because it's a very core part of me, and I think of a lot of autistic people, to just, when you see something is so deeply unjust, there's really nothing else for it but to speak out and to speak what we think is the truth, because it's just such a deep impetus. I couldn't live with myself if I saw what has been happening here and I said nothing, because it's just abuse.
It's emotional abuse, it's psychological abuse. It is abuse, what Ali is doing. And then why I don't believe she should have had anything to do with CPS is, like we've said, we've seen no proof of child harm. None. And Allison has seen no proof with me or with Michelle or with any of the other mothers, or Natalie, any of the other mothers involved in the situation, who she has insinuated time and time and time again that we are unfit parents and that we are hurting our children. Like, the misogyny in Ali and her followers is so crucial to the way this all played out and to the things that has happened. There are many mothers on Allison's side. Caitlin McWilliams is one of them, that spends hours and hours and hours a day running discords for Ali, doing all of Ali's errands, doing all of Ali's dirty work, collecting information on targets, making videos and imposter accounts and bots. Caitlin can do that, and she's still a great mother, according to Ali. But if I make one video, questions should be asked about my sanity and my ability to care for my children. And that double-minded hypocrisy, it just boils down to, if you support Ali, in her mind, you're a good mother. And if you don't support her and you say anything, CPS should be called on you. And I know that I'm with my children all the time. They eat organic food. They travel the world. They have brand new clothes, drawers full of clean, brand new clothes. They go to good schools. They have regular play dates. They're at the park 6 times a week. They're bilingual. They're in multiple extracurriculars. They have 2 present parents at home that earn over 6 figures a year individually. My children are very well cared for and looked after. So the insinuation, and I've never, ever had a brush with the law or CPS. Neither has Brian. So if she can make those quack claims against me, I truly, truly believe that they are malicious and unfounded and done only to hurt and crush the mothers involved by weaponizing their children like a narcissist might do.
Yeah, and I mean, it also speaks to, you are in some ways vulnerable because of some of your family history, but in other ways you are insulated against some of those attacks in a way that I don't think Jubilee is, because it does not make you a worse mother to have not enough money to fight these things, or to, to be having to think of alternative ways to build a community or to find support or to make money. These things don't make you a bad mother, and absolutely not making content online makes you a bad mother. And I think, of course, it's just in order to have some kind of ammo to attack. I don't think anyone involved would ever raise these kind of claims against a father who happened to be on TikTok talking about whatever. It's anti-woman, it's anti-feminist, it's anti-mother specific.
And it's anti-autistic.
Yes.
Because autistic mothers do historically struggle. But that does not mean that they're not wonderful mothers. And that does not mean that they do not try their best and that their children do not feel their love and that their needs are not met. Mm-hmm. Shame on you, Ali. Like, I just truly, it is retaliation. And Ali has said several times, oh, I'm going to get your children to hate you. I'm going to have your children know. Like, she has threatened just everything you can threaten a person to indicate that her only motivation is to harm us irreparably, to take away our income, to take away our homes, to take away our children, to take away our friends, our support system, our good standing. That is all she aims to do. And because Jubilee does not have another parent in the home, because Vancouver state resources are involved in their home because she is a single parent and on disability, Allison was able to find the pain points and she was able to get the numbers to take Jubilee out of her own home.
Mhm.
The thing that Allison has been calling everyone in my life. Allison has called dozens and dozens of people with the sob story that I weaponized wellness checks against her, and I wanted her locked up, and I almost bullied her into taking her life. That's her claim about me. And it's a lie. I have stood up to her in favor of my friends one time, and she has relentlessly pursued me and everyone I know ever since. And she has done the same to Jubilee. But
And
because
to all of
Jubilee,
us, but here's the thing, the pattern is that when someone has a narcissistic family dynamic, that is when people answer. For me, the same things were happening toward everybody in my life. The producer of my music was contacted, family, past friends, my university, blah, blah, blah. But I'm very privileged and lucky because I apparently don't have anyone in my immediate circles who is a narcissist and who wants to hurt me in that way. And so there was no response. The only people that did respond to those kind of calls were just generally people in my city in Philadelphia. Now, I was stalked. I was totally gang stalked. My whereabouts were reported on from strangers, not from my family, not from my exes.
on your
And
public
that is
profiles, on your Hinge profile.
yeah,
Yes.
well but that's all public, and that speaks to me when something in this situation happens where somebody's immediate family member or something responds. To me, that's the signal of that's the pattern that is a narcissistic thing to do, because even if you disagree with somebody's behavior, I think 5 seconds of looking at any of this content in any direction tells you not to touch the situation and be like, why would you ever speak to Allie when it would get blasted on a live, it's going to get leaked, it's going to get used in whatever way. The only reason you don't care about that, in my mind and my best understanding, is because you have some kind of other motive to harm.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think that there's a split faction of people that interact with somebody that's as unstable as her.
Mhm.
And it's if you are equally unstable and messy and you feel disempowered in your life and you feel unimportant and you feel overlooked and you feel like this influencer is calling you and asking for your opinion when quite literally no one asks for your opinion, you might be intrigued. And all of those are hallmarks of narcissistic personality. In my personal life, the people who have interacted with Allie are, in my opinion, and I've been making this content long before I ever came across Allie, were narcissistic presences in my life. And that's what my former channel was about, talking about the narcissistic family dynamics, story by story, starting in 2021. So my entire history with these people was laid bare on the internet, and Allie used those people against me. She found that content and she was like, ooh, this will be a good story. And it wasn't the truth. Like every single instance was the exact opposite of how it happened. And I had to listen to, I've been in therapy for 7 years, trying to grow, heal, and move on from these serious life traumas that these people have put me through.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to sit there and listen to my abuser, who has been charged with domestic violence against me. All of those receipts were put up on my TikTok page. Tell a sob story about how I abused him. I had to listen to my toxic, malignant brother-in-law tell a story about how I punched him in a random bar when he came to my place of work, came up to me, walked up to me, surrounded me, and harassed me. I had to listen to the exact opposite things come out of her mouth. And that was so unspeakably traumatic because she didn't care about due diligence. She didn't care about being correct. And now here Jubilee is with facts, figures, and whole newspaper articles in regards to Katie Felton. That's what really escalated this. And I think that this is noteworthy. Katie Felton has sent me a cease and desist for what? I don't know. I have never made a single video about her. I have never spoken about her publicly. I don't even really care about who she is, but she is the catalyst of the escalation here with Jubilee, her and her entire family. And Jubilee had been going back and forth with them because she had reported on some of the people who were helping Allie commit abuse, helping her gain credibility with authorities that she had no credibility with. People who are standing in the balance for Allie, lending her their reputation to hers so that she can harm innocent people. And she is desperately trying to cover up the truth that was found out about her, was that she was burglarizing several homes in her community.
This is Katie Felton. I actually know less about this situation, unfortunately. So maybe it would help if you gave a little bit more background of who, like what kind of influencer Katie Felton is or when you first heard of her. I vaguely remember her and I know that I know the name has come up, but maybe you can give a little bit more context.
Well, I don't have a lot of information about her other than when this whole thing started a year ago, Katie Felton, who is an influencer coach, she sells basically influencer lessons, it seems, online, although she doesn't have a huge platform herself. And I think she saw it as an opportunity to ally with Allie, an influencer with a larger platform, to make videos that were pro Allie, saying that these criminal women have stolen her platform, none of which is true. Katie Felton had my name in her mouth and had my situation in her mouth, and she was completely categorically misrepresenting it. And I saw her because Jubilee had featured her on some of her TikToks a while back and had some interactions that I didn't keep a close eye on, but Jubilee was very kind to her, but she's autistic. And I understand as a fellow autistic person how Jubilee communicates. And that doesn't mean I'm in psychosis, Allie. Allie's like, if you think she makes sense, you're in psychosis. No, it just means you're not autistic, Allie. And this is what we've been saying this entire time.
Yeah.
If you don't understand Jubilee, you are likely a neurotypical person.
I agree that listening to Jubilee, like, it's the fact that literally sentence by sentence, nothing is either incorrect, or if it's incorrect, it gets fixed later because it's that systematic of a thought process. That's how I think. And it also makes complete sense to me. And I understand with the channel, I want to let you get back to that idea, but I understand with the channel looking at it just at a glance. I get what it looks like. I get that it looks crazy. I get that it looks like a crazy person. She doesn't sound, if you actually listen, if you actually take the time and listen sentence by sentence, you won't find a single sentence that's incorrect of what she's saying. Or I haven't heard one. I can't claim to have comprehensively listened to every single thing Jubilee's ever said, but I've listened to a hell of a lot of it. And it does read as making sense. It reads as autistic.
Precisely. And so she doesn't do these edits and she doesn't do these cuts and she does these quirky little things that if you were a friend to Jubilee and if you have been involved in the situation, you fully understand her communication style. But if you are somebody coming in off the street, especially charged up with bad faith and all these harebrained ideas like Neil was, where Neil, one of Allie's other friends that just got thrown into the mix that I don't know, but came into all of my situations with me, calling me a murderer, calling me all these crazy, they've called, like, everybody that has been an ambassador for Allie is alarmingly unwell. Like, they come in, like, I had another woman call me like unprovoked. Like, these people are just irrational people. And Jubilee has handled so much of this in stride. But I know if I've been dealing with those types of interactions, you know, I've had like X and Caitlin call me all kinds of names, call me criminals. Like, if that's my interaction, I know Jubilee's interaction is 10 times worse. I know that she's getting the same type of treatment that we were getting.
Yeah.
And all she is doing is presenting herself online as an autistic person. And what's so sick about all of this is Allie claims to be autistic. I don't believe she is, for all the reasons that I've said. She's not even been formally diagnosed. I don't think it's valid for her to claim that, especially just to turn around, misrepresent the community, and constantly put autistic people in harm's way. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times she has insinuated, where are your children? Well, they have another parent. Do you understand?
School, or they have like a mother.
The point is,
a mother is not just her children, and there are many ways to be a great parent, and there are plenty of ways that can also include a regular social media presence. What a ridiculous idea that you can't be on social media or else you're a bad parent. There's 24 hours in a day, and children spend plenty of those with other caregivers doing things, doing activities, or sleeping.
So it's just very, very sick to me how Jubilee has been targeted in this way, them like insinuating the child is being mistreated, when I fully believe that is not the case. I fully believe that Jubilee is a wonderful mother. I believe she gives every last bit of energy she has to her child. And she also has to, at sometimes, fill her own cup. And I don't bother any other mothers who want to be influencers and or want to have a full-time job or want to go to school or want to work 2 jobs. Why would I care if Jubilee is online 2 hours a day? I don't care. It is truly none of my business, and it's truly none of these other people's business. And they would not care if she was supporting Allie. They would not care if she was saying things that were positive about Allie and Katie Felton. Katie Felton, going back to the story.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I had to circle around because I just completely forgot that Katie Felton has just been this like weird inserted presence in all of this. And I have never sought her out, and I have never contacted her. I have never said a word about her. But she had come out the gate saying the most dastardly Allie propaganda lies about all of us. And warning the internet about us and just all of their superstitious, paranoid BS.
I'm sorry for my ignorance on all this. Was she that blonde Christian hat-wearing lady?
Big beige hat lady, yes.
She reached out to me privately one time, now that I think about it, and apologized. What happened to that?
The way this goes with all of these people. Well, they all act this way. They say whatever they want to try to win your trust so that they can leverage it against you. Like we have truly experienced that with so many people in this situation. It's pathological how they all act the same way. So I
think it's just very like, not only am I really would hammer home this idea that this is just a deeply sick person, but also the whole dynamic and the whole kind of thing attracts deeply sick people. And I do think it's just, I also think we've had a couple conversations, you and I, just about TikTok more broadly, and how maybe closer to the time of the pandemic, there were a lot of people on there who were at home, not sure of what was happening, trying to get information. And so there was a lot of these early days of TikTok where there were a lot of like normal people that had TikTok. And then, I mean, people are still on there, but they go back to their lives. And like, not that it's a bad thing to have a social media presence or still be an influencer, but it does seem like the ratio of people that are still on TikTok today, kind of lording over those spaces and dominating those spaces, seem to be the people who are without a job, who are at home, who maybe have some kind of disability or mental illness of some kind. And so there is a high prevalence. And again, like, no shade, there's creators that I do like still, that I respect, and that I don't think there's anything like wrong with them. But there's a high ratio of people that are these kind of dangerous, sick individuals who are kind of like beginning to dominate that platform in a way that I think the energy has just changed on there. And I'm kind of like falling away from it myself for that reason, because there's so many of these examples of like influencers and then these followers who are just like, and I think it's very easy to glom onto this particular community because you are somebody with some kind of antisocial personality disorder or some kind of cluster B personality disorder, and you want to make an excuse for yourself. And you want to say, oh, look at this person who acts exactly like me. I understand her completely. I too would like stalk and harass people. And she says she's autistic, and it's all justified and it's all excused away. And you will coddle that behavior and you will lean into it and you will believe it, and it will be music to your ears because you're looking for that same justification for those same behaviors. And so I think there's like a density of these people and a collection of these people into this little mini culture and ideology that is just not what is of the real world. Like anybody, again, I mean, people in my life have been contacted. My school called me pursuant to this and said, hey, this person is calling us repeatedly. And I was partly expecting to have to kind of come with receipts and explain. And they just said, of course, this is not something we would look into. Of course, this makes no sense. And there was no evidence. And are you okay? They said.
Oh,
And
yes. I mean,
that's what
yeah.
normal people react like when you're faced with this kind of thing. Like, no, like people that are not having some kind of conspiracy, or they're not some kind of like narcissistic, sick individual. When you're not that, you just react by being like, wow, this is a crazy situation. What the hell? Like, why would you ever give this person time of day? That's what happens in the real world, as opposed to wackadoo backwards TikTok world, where there's some whole set of people that actually buy into this crap that is being sold. Like anybody that I know that is normal, that is, and by normal I just mean like not a narcissist or an otherwise very sick person. Anybody like that looks at this says, what is even happening here? This person is crazy. And so that's a red flag. When somebody says, oh, actually this person's making a lot of sense, that's a red flag.
It really is. I mean, cluster Bs, specifically narcissists or antisocial personalities, exhibit antisocial behaviors like bullying, and cyberbullying. It's like literally the people who seek to cause turmoil for others online unprovoked. And I'm not talking about debate. I'm not talking about standing up to somebody once. I'm talking about sustained, aggressive bullying, leaving shitty comments on everybody's walls to the tune of hundreds of comments, like what has happened on my wall. Personal phone numbers, constant calls, constant emails, constant messages, derogatory comments about people's looks, derogatory comments about people's jobs, about their partners, about their children. People who can commit sustained bullying campaigns like that are undoubtedly narcissistic or antisocial personalities. Normal people do not react that way. When Ali had reached out to the farmers markets that I parked my food truck at, or some of the festivals that I had worked at, or some of the local influencers or people that I've worked with in the past, 99% of those people who are mentally well and adjusted reacted the same way as your school. They were like, you have no proof. Normal people do not do this. We've worked with this person for 7 years and we've never had a negative experience like one you are describing, nothing even close. So come back with some proof. And they basically just contacted me and said, what's going on? This is horrific. Are you okay?
Are you okay? Yep.
Everyone that has contacted Ali had some deep-seated need to pay me back, harm me, or punish me for walking away. And I do believe that that's the case across the board. So anybody that would talk to Ali in Jubilee's life, where Jubilee has said that there are narcissistic dynamics at play, you can look at her channel. She's spoken at length about how there's a golden child and her sister Tirza, and she feels she's the scapegoated child. I feel the same in my family structure. I will point out that my mother has apologized to me since when she has realized, and so has my brother, apologized to my mother and has floated an apology through my mother to me because I will not speak to him. But yes, it is clear now that Ali is deranged. It is clear now to everyone that's involved that she was not this investigative reporting type call out creator that was looking to help people and elevate humanity, that she is a shark-eyed, psychopathic, nonstop dominator who has found that she cannot dominate autistic women and autistic people. But she does not stop trying. She does not stop trying. And she did get somewhere with Jubilee. And when I saw somebody sent me the TikTok that she had posted the morning that she found out that Jubilee was gone, it made my stomach drop and twist to see her, the smile and the duper's delight on this person's face, the smile in her eyes. Her eyes are mostly non-expressive, open wide. You see the whites all the way around. That's also a sign of a psychopath, just so you know. That's not how normal people hold their eyes. Like super wide, smiling, a huge grin on her face, and it speaks to her double-mindedness, saying, oh, this is a really sad situation. And of course, tying it back to herself. I was institutionalized and it was scary and traumatic. I just saw the video of you calling on her, of the recording of the cop verifying that you called, and you have the audacity to say you don't know how this happened. And that's when I really realized, I'm like, she knows she is lying, and she's having a great time watching herself get away with it. And I have that video. We sent it to our lawyer. She's a sick person. She's sick.
And I mean, I plan to help at least compile this, and because it's very difficult to deal with the law pursuant to all of this, and especially considering what must have been an extremely traumatizing couple of weeks for Jubilee. But I mean, I intend to help any way I can to just collect this information, as we all are. And I mean, this is part of what that is. It's not like we need to be in contact every day, but we are here witnessing each other and trying to support each other's survival. And so I think part of that for me is going to be, putting this in a way that is as easy as possible for Jubilee to then communicate to the appropriate authorities, because she was wronged and she has legal recourse for that if she wants to take it. And so, yeah, I mean, part of that evidence is that reaction, a very, very long string of video recorded moments when when there was bragging about how this was intended as a punishment. So I think, the fact that Jubilee has been recording this all year, when a lot of us have kind of stepped away into our own lives, is part of the reason why it's so infuriating. And it's also extremely valuable work when this is all escalating, and it's now very easy to go back and trace the record of what happened and show the systematic attempts, because it's all recorded. So, I mean, that's pretty powerful. And I think that's part of why that whole channel gets attacked so much, because you don't attack things like that unless you're afraid of the truth of them.
It's the truth. All of it's the truth. And if it wasn't, they would not be worried about this tiny little YouTube channel. They would not be worried about this tiny little red flag, as she likes to say, creator who's not competing with them for their spot, who's not trying to be a giant creator, who's just trying to build a little community and survive.
Yeah.
This is like the epitome of punching down. And that's what's been missed in this whole situation, because like Allie really pretends like she's a standalone person when she's really a conglomerate of hundreds and hundreds of followers. She's not ever stood by herself. Our tiny little group has been all each other has had in this situation. And we're not going to let each other be attacked at this point, because we're all friends in real life. We've drawn extremely close to each other, and we've drawn a lot of comfort from each other and kept each other alive, I feel, in a lot of situations that were so traumatic and meant to be traumatic, and meant to push us past the brink. And that was never treatment that Allie had received from us. No one had ever called her parents. No one had ever called her phone and abused her. No one had ever called her jobs. No one had ever left horrendous comments on her timeline. She accused us all of those things, but it just had never happened. And to see how it's escalated, I hope that Jubilee can hire a CPS lawyer. I hope that she can prove, and she should be able to, with all the video footage once she gets out, I hope she can prove that there was nothing but malicious intent, that she was exposing this story about Katie Felton, and that was about the time that all of this stuff with the caseworker started happening. And that's very funny timing to me. So I just truly, I believe that this was punitive on their part, and that Jubilee did not deserve this. And they can say whatever BS that they want. I don't believe it. I do not believe any of the stuff that they were saying, because they had the same exposure to the same exact information that we had, which was Jubilee on her channel reporting every day, or on her TikTok being autistic and being herself and being a good mother all at the same time, and looking presentable and being charming and being her quirky little self. And I really hope that she gets justice. I hope that this can be fleshed out and that this all can be proven, because there certainly is enough evidence.
I also really hope that she gets justice, because this is an injustice. And in the meantime, when I first learned about this happening and escalating this way, my first reaction was to really want to try to reach a larger, reach out to newspapers, reach out to some kind of other audience, and make people hear what has been happening, because this is so sustained. This has been going on for so long, and it's just injustice after injustice. And I calmed down. I'm glad that we've taken a few days to kind of sit on this and decide what we were going to say, because I really had to sit with the idea that this might not even be the tipping point. This might not even be the thing that makes everybody see and understand what's happening. But you know what? I see what's happening. I know the truth. And I just think that it really doesn't matter who can hear this outside of Jubilee, outside of the people that know that what is happening because we've lived through it, and the people who are still in pain today because of what these people have done in such a targeted, sustained way to us. I think it is valuable and important for us to just continue to say the truth and to speak up. That seems like it would be anathema to me to not to be pummeled into a silence around this or anything. I mean, I don't know. It's just not who I am to sit and watch and not say anything when I know something wrong, something not okay happened to someone who didn't deserve it. And so I just think, that's that I'm always going to be a part of that coalition. Then it's never not going to be true not because there's some kind of conspiring going on behind the scenes on our end, just because I'm always going to be called back to say, I witnessed this, I saw this, I see what happened, and I see you, and I know that it's not okay. And I just think you're never going to do enough. You would have to kill me in order for me to no longer speak up when I see something like this happen that is wrong.
Same. Everything you just said, same. I have a deep, deep, deep sense of justice, and I feel bonded to everyone involved. And Ali can call it psychosis. I'm very clear of mind. I get that feedback from professionals when I go to therapy, when I am diagnosed and talked to and interviewed by professionals. But Ali says that we're all in psychosis, and it's just because she is threatened by our bond. She's threatened by the fact that we have not been moved, that we have kept the same story this entire time. And her minions are so insecure with that fact that it is constant attack, and they think that it's going to result in anything. Jubilee is more resolved now than ever. I'm more resolved now than ever. This type of treatment really just proves everything we have been saying. But I'm going to continue to show up the way that I have showed up, and be there for my friends, and be there to make sure that they stay on this planet, and be there to make sure that they don't feel alone or crazy. Because that is what this person is trying to make all of us feel like.
I think that is the most important thing we can be doing for each other.
And the truth always comes to light. I mean, that's the thing. You cannot act this way forever. And I know that there are other things that are still happening. Like, there is still a lawsuit. Like, all of these things are going to come through. And I believe we will see justice. I just believe it is taking some time, and it is teaching us some patience, and it is teaching us resilience. It is teaching us to be unbowed and unbroken and brave and resilient people.
Yeah.
So I just thank you for giving me this space and for allowing us to talk about and defend our friend Jubilee, and catalog what we have seen happen with our own two eyes.
Yeah. Thank you, Karrie, too, for just coming on and talking on her behalf. And I do think this was important.
I do too. And we love you, Jubilee. I spoke to her a few times last week, and she's playing Sudoku. We sent her some Sudoku books and some pencils, and I think she's just trying to relax and enjoy herself and get some rest, eat some food.
Which she deserves, some self-care.
Yeah, she's treating it as like some reflective self-care time, which is very healthy of her. And I just can't wait for her to come back. I miss her. I miss talking to her over text and through Signal and sending funny videos back and forth. And we miss you, Ju. We can't wait to have you back.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Find additional content at doxxedthepodcast.com.